welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into the UFO phenomena.
Yeah, we're going way beyond just lights in the sky, you know?
Right, exactly.
We're going to be really digging deep into a fascinating case straight from the Project Blue Book files.
Oh, wow.
The official U.S. Air Force investigation into UFOs. You know, This particular case takes us to the Utah Salt Flats back in the 1970s.
Okay.
And our subject is Roy Layton.
Okay.
A young engineering student at the Hollenbeck Institute of Technology who had multiple encounters with a massive, unidentified craft.
Really?
What sets this case apart is the sheer level of detail that Roy provides.
I see.
He meticulously documented his experiences.
Okay.
We're not just talking about seeing lights. He's describing something truly remarkable.
And he was an engineering student.
That's right.
So you'd think he'd be pretty grounded.
Absolutely. He was a practical guy, not prone to, flights of fancy or chasing little green men.
Right.
But what happens when even the most rational explanations just don't fit?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, in Roy's case, things took an even stranger turn.
Okay.
He claimed the beings he encountered actually communicated with him.
Wow.
Giving him specific instructions, even a warning for humanity.
Oh, wow.
So, naturally, this was a lot for a young man to process.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So he confided in his professor, Fred, and his girlfriend, Carol.
Seeking some guidance and support.
Exactly. And that's where Project Blue Book steps in.
Okay.
Captain Ryan and Sergeant Fitz are the investigators assigned to the case.
Mm-hmm.
They were tasked with separating fact from fiction.
Yeah.
They had to understand the context, the credibility of the people involved, and ultimately get to the truth.
So where do they even begin with something like this?
Well, they started with in-depth interviews.
Okay.
And not just with Roy, but with everyone he confided in.
Right.
This wasn't just about taking Roy's word for it. They needed to get a broader perspective.
Yeah, I see.
One detail immediately stood out, though.
What was that?
This strange rhythmic sound that Roy described the craft emitting. Okay.
It wasn't a typical hum or whir.
Mm-hmm.
It was something far more complex, almost musical.
Interesting.
And this is where Carol's testimony becomes really crucial.
Okay.
She revealed that Roy had this really fascinating musical hobby.
Really?
He loved to create sounds using unusual instruments.
So he was musically inclined.
Very much so.
Okay.
And get this, Carol actually had a recording of Roy recreating the sound he'd heard.
Wow.
Using tuned gourds, of all things.
Tuned gourds.
Yeah. So suddenly it wasn't just a story,
Right.
There was this tangible piece of evidence, something concrete in a case shrouded in the unknown.
Yeah, that changes things.
Absolutely.
So what did the team from Project Blue Book do with this recording?
Well, they were meticulous in their investigation.
Okay.
Analyzed soil samples, took radiation readings, pored over weather reports, even looked into train schedules.
Train schedules.
Yeah, they were leaving no stone unturned.
Wow, that's impressive. And what's really interesting is that through their thorough investigation, they actually started to uncover some pretty intriguing possibilities.
Such as?
Well, for example, they learned about a rare double temperature inversion
Oh, wow.
that occurred on the very night of Roy's first sighting.
Okay.
So imagine the distorted reflections of a train passing through the valley at a specific time, coupled with this incredibly rare atmospheric phenomenon,
Right.
could potentially explain the visual aspect of what Roy witnessed.
So it could have been a trick of the light?
In a way, yes, it was a brilliant piece of detective work.
Yeah.
Really demonstrated how seemingly unrelated factors can create these extraordinary illusions.
But what about the sound?
Well, that's the catch.
There's always a catch.
There always is. The visual explanation doesn't account for that sound.
Right.
And it certainly doesn't explain another independent sighting that was reported around the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's more to this story.
Okay.
Let's hear it. Another sighting.
Yeah, this second witness, a Mr. Hammond, lived in Provo, Utah,
Okay.
miles away from where Roy had his encounter.
So completely different location.
Totally. And he described a similar craft.
Really?
And here's the kicker. He also reported hearing that same pulsating sound Roy had described.
Wow. So now we have two separate people in different locations experiencing very similar phenomena.
Exactly. This is where the case takes a really fascinating turn.
It's no longer just one guy's story.
Right. And remember that sound recording?
Yeah. The one with the tuned gourds.
That's the one the team at Project Blue Book was really intrigued by it.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. They wanted to know if it could be explained by, conventional acoustics or technology.
Makes sense.
So they sent the recording to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base
Wow.
for some serious analysis.
So like a government lab examining this mysterious sound recording.
Pretty much, it's like something straight out of a movie.
So did they ever figure out what it was?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. The results of that analysis, at least according to the declassified files we have access to,
Uh-huh.
they're still a mystery.
Oh, wow. So they couldn't explain it.
It seems that way, which just adds another layer to this already intriguing case.
It's funny. The more we seem to learn about this, the deeper the mystery gets.
That's often the case with these UFO encounters.
Speaking of mysteries, we haven't even touched on the whole government suppression angle yet.
Ah, yes. The idea that authorities are deliberately hiding information about these encounters.
It's a pretty common theme in UFO lore.
For sure, and in Roy's case, there are definitely some hints of this.
Like what?
Well, remember his girlfriend Carol?
Mm-hmm.
She was worried about how this whole UFO thing might affect Roy's career.
Oh, right. She thought it could jeopardize his future.
Exactly. She was concerned that people might see his claims, even if they were true,
Yeah.
as a sign of instability.
Which could be a problem for an aspiring engineer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how many other people felt pressured to stay silent about their experiences.
Especially back then.
Right. There might have been this unspoken pressure from the government to keep things quiet.
Makes sense. And then there was that strange incident with the news report.
Oh, yeah. What was that all about?
Roy was adamant that he didn't plant that story about his encounter in the local paper.
But it was there in black and white?
Exactly. It's as if someone or something was trying to manipulate the narrative.
Interesting. Either to discredit Roy or to intentionally bring his story to a wider audience.
It just doesn't quite fit.
It's a curious detail for sure. It makes you wonder who else might have been involved behind the scenes.
Other agencies, maybe with their own motives.
Possibly. These are questions that often come up when we delve into UFO phenomena.
The lines between what's real, what's speculation, and what's being deliberately hidden can get really blurry.
Absolutely. And for those who've had these firsthand experiences like Roy, it can be incredibly isolating.
I can imagine.
Trying to reconcile the extraordinary truth, with the skepticism of a world that isn't quite ready to believe.
So it's important to keep sharing these stories.
Exactly. Cases like Roy's are crucial.
How so?
Well, they challenge us to think beyond our current understanding.
To consider other possibilities.
Right. To stay open to the idea that there might be more to reality than we currently perceive.
These cases remind us that the search for truth can be a long and winding road,
For sure.
full of dead ends, unexpected twists and clues that only make the mystery deeper.
And sometimes the most profound discoveries aren't about finding all the answers, but about learning to ask the right questions. So let's keep digging.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What do you think was Roy's encounter just a case of mistaken identity?
It's hard to say for sure. We've examined the evidence, looked at it from different angles, but ultimately,
Yeah.
like so many cases in those Project Blue Book files, the truth remains elusive.
It's like a puzzle with missing pieces.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so compelling.
It really does make you think.
It reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never truly over,
Yeah.
It's about being curious, open-minded, challenging what we think we know about the world.
Especially when it comes to things like this.
Absolutely, and sometimes the most profound discoveries aren't about having all the answers,
Right.
but about learning to embrace the mystery, to acknowledge that there's still so much we don't understand.
The unknown.
Exactly. The vastness of what's out there beyond our current grasp.
It's a humbling thought, for sure.
It reminds us to stay curious, to keep searching,
Yeah.
to never stop questioning.
Because the truth is out there somewhere.
The truth is here.